So the first thing that we're going to go through is a new company setup. So this is if you are transferring at the beginning of a tax year to this payroll system, or if you're a new employer and haven't yet paid your employees. So the contents of this will include your calendar settings, how to create employees, your payroll settings, how to create payments and deductions, your payslip settings, which is customizing payslips, and then I'll go through how to set up your pension correctly. So before you start processing in payroll or setting any payroll up, if you're a new employer, when you start employing staff, you need to register first with HMRC and set up an account with their online services. You can sign up for PAYE for employers and get your PAYE and accounts office reference numbers and an activation code. These can take up to 7 days to get, and you must activate them within 28 days. When you sign into payroll for the first time, a welcome message appears with the options to set up your company and your payroll information. This screen here is what you see when you log in before you've started putting any data in. So the option for the new company setup is the second option here, set up a new payroll from scratch. When you click on this new company button, what it does is it creates a new blank payroll company ready for you to enter your details. And this is what you see when you're on that page here. So you should have an option to set up your paydays and an option to add your employees. So the first thing that we're going to set up are your calendar settings. So before you pay your employees, you must set up your payday calendars. This helps you keep track of when you pay your employees. When you complete a pay run in payroll, it automatically moves to the next pay run in the calendar, so you don't need to manually enter pay dates each time you run a pay run. You can pay your employees weekly, 2-weekly, 4-weekly, and monthly. So now we'll just have a little demo of how you actually set this up within payroll. When creating your payday calendars, there's a couple of ways that we can actually set this up. So once you've clicked on the new company setup, it does give you the option of when would you like to pay your employees. If you press set up employee paydays here, it takes you to your calendar settings. If for some reason you don't have that option, or if you want to come and do this later, if you go into settings, you then have the option for calendar settings, and that takes you to exactly the same place. So for this example, I'm just going to set up a monthly calendar. It's the same button on each one to set them up. So I'm just going to click on set up monthly calendar. So in here, you can select the day that you normally pay your employees on. So if you select the same day of each month, you then need to choose the day of the month that you actually pay them on, and you can choose from the dates here. If you select the last day of the month, it'll automatically set the payday to the last day of each month, so you don't need to do anything with the dates. You can set up when your first pay run is. So this, for the monthly one, will be the first month you would like to pay your employees. If you then select this little tick box to avoid public holidays and weekends, whenever a payday falls on a public holiday or weekend, the payday defaults to the previous working day. If you untick this, it'll always pay on the day that you've selected here. So you can edit the pay days here. Just brings that up and you can edit it. And you can also remove the frequency here. So if you've set this up in error and it has not been used on a pay run yet, you can remove this frequency here. If it has been used on a pay run, you unfortunately cannot delete that. You can also view your pay calendar. So what this does, it will show you all of your pay runs and what date they are meant to be paid on in one screen. The next thing we're going to go through is how to create your employees. So to help you manage your employees, you can create and maintain records for them. You can enter things like their personal details, their tax codes, their NI categories, and as well as any P45 or P46 information. So new employees should always be created prior to running your first pay run. If you've already completed a pay run that an employee should have been included in, and the employee has not been created, you will be unable to process them in that pay run. You must wait until you've set the next pay run to create the employee. So again, for setting up your employees, there is a couple of ways that you can go about it. So once you've clicked that new company button, it does give you the option on the next page to enter your employees. So if you click add your employees, it takes you to your employees page. If you need to get back to this page, it is just employees at the top. So if you click on create employee, this brings you up the information that you need to add for this employee. So things like their forename, surname, date of birth, gender, and contact details should all be filled in. Their NI number should be filled in as well, but if you are struggling to find their NI number or the employee is under 16, just leave that box blank and start the employee on a P46 basis. HMRC automatically trace the employee's NI number and send you a CA6856 form to confirm the number. With this section down here, with the email and password, so this is for sending payslips through email. If you have a valid email in there and a password set up for the employee, you can then email that to them. When the payslip does get emailed, they will need the password that you've put in this box to be able to access that payslip. So the next thing you'll need to fill in is their employment details. So you should select the pay cycle, so select how often you're going to pay this employee. You should also select the contracted weekly hours. You should set up a works number for them. It's just a unique code that identifies the employee in the company, and that is unique to your company. You can set that up as any number you want. So the RTI Pay ID, this is used to capture a unique employee reference for the company which is included in your submissions to HMRC. So if you're transferring from another payroll system partway through a tax year that uses the RTI PID, you must enter this on each employee. If your previous payroll system was HMRC Basic Tools, you can find the RTI PID under Employee Details, then click Employment Details and note the Payroll ID. If your employee is a new starter or if your business is a new business, Payroll will automatically assign them an RTI PID, but then when you move to another payroll system, you'll need to take that RTI PID with you and enter it in that new system. You would also put in their start date. Leave the finish date blank, that is just for marking employee as a leaver. You would select the payment method. If you do select bank transfer, you also need their bank account details. And then this checkbox, if you check that, it means that you don't need to assess this worker under the automatic enrolment conditions for your pension. So if your employee is a director of the company, you can click this little tick box here under directorship details, and you can fill in the information that you need if they are a director. So you would fill in the directorship start date and the preferred calculation method for the national insurance. The last thing that you need to choose is their starting basis. So if you click this as an existing employee, you would only select this option if you're setting up an employee who already worked for you and is paid in the normal way. For example, if you're setting up for the first time, you need to set up your existing employees. The next option is Employee Declaration P45. So you would select this option if a new employee has presented a P45 Part 3 issued by their previous employer. The other option you can have as a starting basis is a P46. And then once you've got all that set up, just click Save. And that'll save the employee as is with all the information you've got in here. Once you have that employee set up correctly, if there's anything that you do need to change on that employee, you can click into their profile and click Edit at the top. What this allows you to do is edit this. So you can edit any information there and then click Save again. And that's how you would set up your employees. If you do have more than one, you can just create another employee and keep doing that until you have all of them created on the system. So the next thing we're going to go through is just your payroll settings. This is just setting up your payroll for reporting to HMRC. So as an employer, you must report your payroll taxes to HMRC throughout the year. If you want to review or edit your HMRC filing details, payroll settings is the place to do it. So to get to your payroll settings, if you just go to settings at the top, and from the options, it's payroll settings. So in here, you can fill in your reporting details. So the first thing you need is your PAYE reference number. So that's issued by HMRC when you register for PAYE for employers. Your accounts office reference. This is your 13-character reference number supplied by HMRC. You can find it on your P30BC Payslip booklet or your P30B letter. Your HMRC reporting frequency. If you're unsure of whether you pay HMRC monthly or quarterly, please contact HMRC's Payment Inquiry Helpline and they'll be able to tell you which one that is. And then lastly, you just need to fill in how you actually pay HMRC. So do you pay that through cheque or bank transfer? Once that's filled in, click Save, and you're ready to report to HMRC. So now we'll just go through your payment and deduction settings. So to ensure you pay your employees correctly, you need to create and manage your company payments and deductions. So to get to your payment and deduction settings, if you go to Settings at the top, and then you'll see here Payment and Deduction Settings. So there's two tabs on this page, there's Payments and there's Deductions. So to create a payment, make sure you're on the Payments tab, and then you'll have a blue button that says Create New Payment. So firstly, you'll need to select your payment category. There's quite a few to choose from there. So to ensure that the payment is correctly recorded for tax and NI, you must ensure that you select the correct category here. The next one to choose is your payment type. Again, there is a lot to choose from, but again, just to make sure it is correctly recorded for tax and NI, you must have the correct payment type as well. You can choose a name to name this payment. Just bear in mind that this name will appear on payslips. You can also enter a description. So this text explains the purpose of the payment. The next thing to do is click whether to include it in the calculation of pension earnings and qualifying earnings. So once that payment is saved, it will come up here. Just bear in mind that you cannot delete payments in payroll. If you don't want to use this payment in the current pay run, just don't select it as one of the payments for that employee. If it is already selected, there is a little cross button on the pay run just to delete that. You can edit the payments if you need to. If you click onto the payment, there is a little edit button down at the bottom there. So next is the deductions. Just make sure you're on the deductions tab at the top, and you'll have a button that says create new deduction. It's exactly the same as the payment in the setup. So you would select a deduction category, select a deduction type, you would name your deduction, and you would put in a description. Again, once these are saved, you cannot delete them, but if you don't want to use them, just don't include them on the pay run. And again, you can edit them exactly the same way as you edited the payment, just by clicking into this deduction again. The next thing we'll quickly go through is the payslip settings. So this is really easy. There is only a few options you can choose from when setting up your payslips. So I'll just show you in the system what they are. So to get to your payslip settings, if you just go to settings at the top, and you'll see payslip settings as the second option there. So you'll see here the only thing that you can change is the template that's used. So we've got 3 templates. You won't need to buy any stationery for these payslips. What you see on screen here is actually what prints out from your printer, so there's no need to buy any stationery for these. It just prints out like this. Once you've selected a suitable one, just click Save, and then when you print those or email them, this is how they will look. So next we're just going to go through the pension setup. What I'll do is I'll just start talking about automatic enrollment, just the basics of it, just to give you some background. So automatic enrollment is a government initiative that was introduced to help more people save for their retirement through a pension scheme at work. Every employer in the UK must enrol certain staff into a workplace pension scheme and contribute towards it. The automatic enrolment law is already in force for all employers, so if you do start a new payroll system, you will have to comply with this new legislation straight away. If you are a new business, you can find out how to set up automatic enrolment by visiting the pensions regulator. They are your point of contact for everything related to the pension and how to get that set up. Anything from choosing a pension provider to your automatic enrolment date. So we'll just go through how to set up a pension in the system and what information you will need when setting one up. So to get the pension set up started, what you need to do first is set up your staging date. So on your summary page, on the right hand side, you'll have auto enrolment/pensions. Your staging date for commencing automatic enrolment is determined by your PAYE reference number. If you don't know this, our suggestion would be to talk to the pensions regulator and they should be able to help you with your staging date. So just for this example, I'm just going to go back to 2019 and put it as the 1st of June 2019. So if your staging date is before you're using the system, it'll tell you that you've reached your staging date. So it'll say that automatic enrolment preparations must be completed before you process the pay runs. That includes the staging date or any later pay runs. So before you process any pay runs, you can actually amend the staging date if you have put it in incorrectly. Once you process pay runs, that staging date cannot be changed, so please make sure you put in the right staging date. So to prepare for auto enrolment, you can either click this button here, or you can go to pensions at the top. So you've got a few steps that you need to go through when setting up your pensions. So the first step is to nominate a pensions contact. So under the automatic enrolment legislation, you must nominate a pension contact for correspondence from the pension regulator. So you would need to complete the nominate a contact form on the pensions regulator website. So once you've done that, you would tick this off by clicking this little checkbox, and then that goes green to say that you've done it. The next step is assess your workforce. So to identify the impact of the new pension legislation on your workers, you should assess them now. This option identifies your worker categories for automatic enrolment. So once you've done that, if you click Workforce Assessed, the next is to review your pension arrangements. So there's a few different scenarios here. So if you don't already have a pension, once you've decided on a pension scheme provider and worked with them to get your scheme up and running, you should select No for the Do you have an existing pension scheme. If you've already had a qualifying pension scheme and that's already set up, you would click this one as Yes. For this, you would click the Confirm link. The pension regulator website opens automatically and you can check whether your existing scheme qualifies for automatic enrolment. If you're unsure, you need to speak to your pension provider. So once you confirm that it does qualify for automatic enrolment, you can add the pension here. Once that pension's been added, you can then click this pension scheme qualifies. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to click that I do not have an existing pension scheme. So when you've clicked no to this, and what you want to do is you want to click the add a new pension button. So in here, you would pick your pension provider. So for mine, I'm going to go with Nest. So the first thing you want to fill in is your employer reference. On Nest, this is the Nest ID, but it will be different on different pension providers. You then need to add your group. So you put in the group name, the contribution rate, the employer contribution percentage, the employee contribution percentage, and the earnings basis. You would click whether it was deducted before tax or not, and the payment due date. If the default plan checkbox is ticked, this will automatically enroll all employees into this pension. You can change this for individuals during the pay process if you do need to. For this information, you will need to check the scheme that is set up with your pension provider. This needs to match 100% for it to calculate correctly. And then once you've got the group added, you need to add a payment source. So you would check the name of the payment source in your pension scheme provider and fill in that exactly as it is on their side. If it is the default payment source, you would just click that. You would click that it's a qualifying scheme, and then you would have to select the tick box to confirm that you are agreeing with our terms as well. So once you've got that all filled in, if you just click save, and then you'll need to click this box that says pension scheme qualifies. The last step to this is to communicate auto-enrollment changes to your employees. So you're obliged to inform your employees of how automatic enrollment will impact them. You can print out or email advance notices of auto-enrollment to your workforce, and you can do it from here. You can print all or email all, or you can select what to do on an individual employee basis. Once you've done that, you would click Employees Informed, and that is your pension set up.